Scams and stock markets. Investors who have burned their fingers investing in dubious schemes that promise very high returns know that the biggest risk is somebody running away with your money instead of investing on your behalf or into products that will grow your money. Hofland Finance, CRB, Sarada, Sahara are all the names that are associated with vanished household savings. The advantage with physical investments like real estate and gold is that you can see, where, and live in your investments. Bank FDs are relied on after decades of trust in banking in India. Although cooperative banks fail and people lose their money even in bank deposits. The biggest job of a regulator is to build trust in the market so that investors feel safe from the risk of fraud. SEBI has done a good job in making mutual funds fraud free, but it took a long journey, which began with a stock market scam. 1992 was the year of the big stock market scam, where a banking loophole became the way to route funds into a huge stock market bubble. A broker called Harshad Mehta became the face of the scam that extended its reach to banks, politicians, and stock market movers and shakers. The scam rode on the back of the excitement of the 1991 economic reform in India that was going to unshackle the Indian economy from licensed Raj. Private sector participation was now going to be allowed in many areas, including finance. But the headline grabbing stock market scam exposed the unsophisticated nature of the Indian securities market and the lack of a regulator to oversee the play of free markets. In the aftermath of the stock market scam, the capital market regulator, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, was born in 1992 as a statutory body that is thought an act of Parliament. It was soon called upon to draft the rules of the game for mutual funds. The mutual fund journey from monopoly to open markets. The Unit Trust of India (UTI), as a public sector mutual fund, had been set up in 1963. It had a monopoly market for a full 24 years before other public sector entities were allowed in. The learned policymakers and government of those years distrusted the private sector enough to prevent them from coming to the market at all. Not that the public sector unit PSU funds covered themselves in any glory. Today, it seems bizarre that attempts to open the mutual fund market to private firms was met with virtue signaling lectures and speech that feared the death of household savings at the hands of evil profit-making private and foreign firms. But in reality, any time there is a reform in India, the same sets of arguments are put forward by the incumbents that finally lean on citizen interest. And in hindsight, the only mutual fund to have deliberately cheated investors was the old UTI, as it kept declaring unrealistic dividends in its flagship scheme, Unit 64, that did not reflect the real value of the portfolio and was just an imaginary number. It feels scarily like other humongous retirement targeting assured return institutions today, but let's not go there. In 1987, UTI's monopoly was challenged by 7 PSU banks and insurance-led establishments, including the State Bank of India (SBI), Canara Bank, Life Insurance Corporation, and General Insurance Corporation of India (GIC). It was early days and the rules of the game were still not established. The lawlessness and lack of road rules would come to bite one of these fund houses much later when the courts held it to account for the guarantee it gave investors. But I run ahead. We are still in the flashback scene. The market was under the Capital Issues Control Act 1947 that determined who would be in charge of capital in socialist India and decided on new issue prices on the stock market. The stock market was a broker's closed club of incumbents. Like all incumbent driven institutions, it was expensive, with a trade costing 5% of the value. This is now down to a few basis points. With no transparency on the actual price of the trade, since the market was an open outcry system with physical deals rather than screen based trading we do now. The pressure for change was bubbling up to the surface in the 90s, and it erupted in the 1991 reform as India stood on the edge of bankruptcy as a country.